Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is already the middle point of June of 2024, and given that the Acolyte Season 1 is showing no sign of a resolution in sight, with the Rotten Tomatoes score now bouncing back and forth between 15 to 16% on the audience scale of things, it is not looking good for Lucasfilm, and it's most certainly not looking good for those attached to the project, like Leslye Headland, Kathleen Kennedy, and Amandla Stenberg, the star of the series portraying May and Osha in this series. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So we already know that the Acolyte is by far the worst addition to the Star Wars franchise under Disney's wing, and it is really a world-breaking situation. We have never seen a ratings disaster like this before under Lucasfilm, under Kathleen Kennedy's leadership, and of course, most of all, just Star Wars in general. We have never seen anything like this. You know, any kind of social media that you go to, it has been ratioed across the board, it is universally rejected, and overall fans just don't want anything to do with it anymore after Episode 3 debuted. Now, interestingly enough, we know that there's a lot of drama that's been going on between Kathleen Kennedy, Leslye Headland, Disney CEO Bob Iger, and the Disney executives in between, and what's been going on between Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Company at large. Let's discuss, shall we? Now, one thing that we do know about when it comes to Lucasfilm is that they always fall into this vicious cycle. They either announce projects that never get made, or number two, they release projects that are very controversial, and number three, they always tend to fall into the blame game, right? They will never address the real issue of what's going on with the failed project. Now, ever since the debut of the Acolyte Episode 3, Disney Plus subscribers have been leaving in droves that tuned in strictly for Star Wars. One major development now, however, has to do with the damage control looming for the Walt Disney Company and Bob Iger. In, of course, this case with Kathleen Kennedy and how she is currently having a battle, as it turns out, with the Disney heads after the Acolyte Episode 3 backlash led to a series of decisions that were made final by the Disney executives and board, including Bob Iger. Now, after the Acolyte ratings hit a historic low for Lucasfilm, recently Bob Iger made the order and forced Kathleen Kennedy at Lucasfilm to pull the plug on plans for a full-fledged High Republic trilogy of movies that were going to be announced by this holiday season, catered to the Disney Plus platform, that would serve as the adaptations of the High Republic books, as well as the first Star Wars films, to arrive on Disney Plus, made for Disney Plus. This was yet another series of projects that were going to be led by Leslye Headland that are now no more, and that Lucasfilm was preparing to dub it as Star Wars Eclipse Volume 1 through 3, the title being inspired from the upcoming video game. The Star Wars Eclipse trilogy that was recently axed and cancelled behind the scenes, that created an uproar from Kathleen Kennedy at Lucasfilm, is already creating a serious divide between the Disney CEO and the Lucasfilm president. It's gotten to the point where Kathy was informed that some members of the board at Disney are already calling for Iger to fire her immediately from Lucasfilm to create a replacement president to lead Lucasfilm. However, the amount of board members calling out Kennedy are said to fall into the minority, and the margin roughly being between 2 to 3 board members. The cancellation of these movies were axed for 2 reasons. Both Iger and the board are indeed very well aware about the backlash behind the scenes, and are cutting ties with Leslye Headland run projects one by one that are being finalized, single, of course, at a time. She had already lost numerous Star Wars and Marvel gigs beforehand. These 3 films for Disney Plus were cancelled. The second was Bob Iger's cost containment strategy worked itself into effect to lead to this decision, since High Republic, of course, movies altogether were estimated to land near around $800 million, $200 million per project, and the marketing expenses were not even involved into that equation. Episode 3 of The Acolyte is reportedly what made Bob Iger make the final call to really pull the plug on the High Republic trilogy. However, Kennedy is already creating much tension behind the scenes by getting involved in heated arguments via remote meetings with the Disney executives. The drama has been so large, it has been rattling throughout all of Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Company, to the point that even Leslye Headland is beginning to side with Kennedy in this battle against Disney to reinstate the projects to no avail. Now guys, let me just say one thing before I continue. Leslye Headland is not fit for Star Wars. She will never understand Star Wars. She may claim that Star Wars changed her life when she did that fake cry on stage at Star Wars Celebration. Go ahead and check that out, by the way. It's by far one of the most cringe interviews you ever watch. Just search up Kathleen Kennedy, or should I say Leslye Headland, Star Wars Celebration, and you guys will get exactly what I'm talking about somewhere around midway through that interview. But interestingly enough, the overall failure of the Acolyte is creating a domino effect at Lucasfilm, alright? They never expected a level of backlash like this, and sure, Bob Iger, Kathleen Kennedy, and all of them are going to go to damage control like there's no tomorrow. They will lie through their teeth. They will say that the Acolyte is a whopping success, that it is breaking records on a positive scale rather than a negative scale, and they will never admit failure with the Acolyte until some time has passed after episode 8 drops come July 17th or 16th. Now, interestingly enough as well, we know that the Acolyte is also creating a ripple effect between the business relationship, if you will, if you want to call it that at this point, by Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy that are now in this divide over the current direction of Star Wars and Lucasfilm and what's going on over there. Moving onwards, now thankfully Iger and the board remain frozen on budging the Kennedys' demands. However, this does not mean their agenda will stop with other Star Wars projects in the lineup. The High Republic films were said to all have the essence or tone of the Acolyte Episode 3, which exactly is why Iger decided to call it quits on those projects after being warned by the board to do so, that were ready to be announced in the coming months. So, just a heads up about this, they wanted to announce these projects by this November to December, right around Thanksgiving, the Christmas time, to kind of set the tone for what's looming throughout the rest of the 2020s for Star Wars. Now look, they keep announcing Star Wars films and they go absolutely nowhere. Or we never get an official release date on these projects. Heck, we still don't even have a legitimate release date on the Rey Star Wars movie. I still believe it's not going to be made. I mean, there's a good chance that it could lead to that, overall decision where Bob Iger really makes that, official where the Rey movie is no more, it's not happening. I find it very strange that the production is just still not moving forward. They're not engaging in production yet, and it's not going to come out in 2026. If anything, if it does get made, it's going to be delayed. But overall, there's a lot of things going on here between Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger. This overall shakeup, I think, is going to make tensions worse, and it's going to eventually cause Lucasfilm to cripple. I really do believe that. We already know that there's a lot of cost cutbacks for the company. Bob Iger is also engaging in massive firings across all divisions over at Disney. It's not just catered to Pixar, which hundreds of employees were already laid off, but it's also going to cater to Marvel Studios, Lucasfilm, Walt Disney Animation Studios, and much more. Even the theme park employees are going to get hit in the near future by 2025. But yeah, I would like to hear what you all have to say about the Acolyte situation, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.